Good afternoon. Welcome to the Dixie Belle Facebook page. My name is Shannon and I am from Pick and Boots Vintage down in sunny Southwest Florida. I don't mean to rub that in, but it's a beautiful day here. I do want to say that I just had a customer come in that is from Texas, and she was very excited because she just got word that she now has power. So I'm so happy to hear that Texas is finally starting to get some power. So that's a good thing. So anyway, let's get back to painting. Okay, so last week I was on, and I started this vanity. Let me just show you this. This was my color inspiration. Sometimes you'll come across different items that will give you an idea or an inspiration or color combo that you just think you have to use. Well, this was mine. I love that deep royal purple and then this blue. So I was thinking, oh, this would be perfect for the vanity. So I started playing with the different colors, and I finally got the right purple to match the inside of that jewelry box. And then, well, I put the two colors together, and I just didn't really feel that it went well on this vanity. So I'm going to save my color combination for another time. Something that's going to be a little different, not like this vanity. Dixie Belle has a bunch of recipes on how to make different colors. There's two columns here. You take the color on the right and the color on the left, and you get what is in the middle. So if you haven't seen this before and you want a copy, if you DM me on Instagram, color recipes, I will be happy to send you this file. Okay? All right, let's get started. So this is a custom mix. This is a beautiful color. It's kind of like antebellum blue, but it's different, and it's just a gorgeous color. And how I got it was I mixed equal parts of Yankee blue. Let me show you the back. And then barn red. So I did 8 ounces and 8 ounces. And that is how I got this gorgeous color. Love it. Now, just a tip. If you start mixing colors, write down what you did to get that color so you can remember, especially if you're painting a if you're painting a piece and you run out of paint, you want to make sure you have the exact recipe to get back to that same color. Another thing is, make sure you make enough paint. That way you don't have to worry about it. But still make a note, because maybe down the line you're going to want to use that same color again. So I debated blending. I debated adding. I spent all morning agonizing what I was going to do to this piece. Finally, I decided that the best thing for this piece is just going to be, I'm going to wet distress it. And now, there's a few reasons why I'm going to wet distress, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I wanted to show you. This is what the handles look like. They're that clear glass, the old crystal. So that's going to be really pretty, but with all this detail and all up here, I'll show you the top in a minute. It just wouldn't fit in my frame. I just thought that there might be too much going on, and then if I add blending and other crazy stuff, it might take away from the piece. Look at these gorgeous feet. If you notice, I left them brown, and then here is a lighter color brown. And let me just give you a top real quick, so just bear with me for 1 second. See how dark that medallion is on top? So that actually matches the feet. So after I get done wet distressing, we're going to make this darker with the gel stain. So if you want to see the gel stain, stick around and you can see. All right, so wet distressing. There's a couple ways you can do it. The first way is you can do it while the paint is wet, and that's what I'm going to show you on this drawer here. I've already put my second coat everywhere but here so I can show you. Always start with a wet brush, and my brush is already wet because I just cleaned it. When I say wet, I don't mean dripping wet, I mean just like damp. And this is the area area that has not gotten the second coat yet. So I'm putting that on now. And I'm using the flat mini just because it's such a small area. Okay, so now let's wet distress. I'm going to put this off to the side. So you can wet distress with a rag while the paint is still wet with a little bit of water. You can use a baby wipe. We're going to do it with the rag first. And when I wet distress this other part, I'm going to bring the camera, or actually bring the furniture closer so you can see closely. Oops, I just scratched a little bit too far. So let me just touch that up real quick. There we go. Actually, let's go ahead and move it closer so you can see. You don't need to see me, you just need to see this technique because it's pretty cool. And I'm just simply taking my finger and tracing the line of the detail. And I don't need it to be perfectly distressed so it matches. I want it to be a little uneven. So I'm just going to lightly go over this. Here we go. So you can see, let me still get a little closer because I really just don't think you can see this. I don't know if it's the lighting. Let's just take this door out. See that? Now there are a little bit of clumps, but when it dries, I'll go back and I'll just brush it off. But see, when you wet distress, it looks more authentic than if you use sandpaper. The reason for that is because when you use sandpaper, sandpaper will sometimes go too down past the paint, get to your wood, and then take off that beautiful color that is there. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. So that is showing you how to wet distress with your second coat of wet paint. Now, these areas over here already have the second coat of paint on them, and they're dry. So I want to show you how we're going to do this. My handy dandy Mr. bottle. You always want to have one of these handies. These are awesome. And I'm going to do it first with a rag, and then I'll do it second with a baby wipe, just so you can see the difference. So what I'm doing with this Mr. bottle is I'm going to spray a little bit of water, not a lot, just a little bit. It's going to reactivate the paint so you can wet distress. So, see, just a little bit of paint. Let me bring this in. There we go. How's that? And I'm just putting my finger in the rag, and I'm going to gently run it along the detailed line that's already there. The nice thing about this is if I happen to take off too much, when this is dry, or even right now, I can go ahead and put a little bit of paint on it. But actually right now it's looking really nice. I love it. All right, so I'm going to do this down here too. Now this has a little bit more detail, so just bear with me while I do this. A little bit of spray to reactivate the paint. Then I'll wipe it with a rag, and then this side, I'll do the other side over here, I'll do with the baby wipe. I just want to show you that you do have options. And I'm barely pushing. I'm not pushing very hard. You don't need to. If you push too hard, you might take off too much. Again, it does not need to be even. How's that? Is that showing up in the camera? You can see that the glare, it's because it's wet. I'll bring the drawer out when I get done so you can see it better. And as always, ooh, I just scratched it. If you want to see the finished product, just follow me on Facebook and they will be posted there. So, I scratched a little bit, just taking my finger and I'm going back and I'm putting the paint on. There we go. Because accidents do happen, especially if you go a little too fast. And for those of you that have ever seen me paint before know how fast I paint. All right. And if you can tell from this one's a little bit lighter and this one's a little bit darker, and that's only because the wood underneath is lighter and darker. So we're going to go ahead and do this down here real quick. Spraying it with a little bit of water. We're going to use just a dry, lint-free rag. And I'm simply just lightly dragging over the lines of the detail. What the water does is it just reactivates the paint and makes it able to come off. There we go. So, let's see if we can get a better, can you see that? Let's take this drawer out. I'm just going to take my rag just to get the clumps off real quick, dry it. Now you can see where I scratched a little bit too much. I'll go back and just touch that up, but look, see how pretty that is? Okay, so I also have some detail right here. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick too. A little bit of water. Just taking a dry rag in my fingertip. I'm going to run right down those lines. Ta-da! It looks so pretty in person. I'm looking at my iPad and I don't know how well you can see it, but it doesn't look like it's transferring very well. However, there will be pictures, I promise. All right, so now we're going to do this side. Let me get that water off. But we're going to do this one with baby wipes. Sometimes you need to reactivate the paint with the baby wipes. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes just whatever's in the baby wipes will. So we're going to go ahead and try it with just the baby wipe. This one, it feels like it takes a little bit more work going back and forth, but it is coming off very nicely. What I'll do at the end is I'll hold up the two drawers so you can see the difference between the baby wipe and the water. There we go. It seems, as you can see, it's a lot easier when you spray and reactivate the paint than just using the baby wipe. But, same effect. And this here is already done because I did play a little bit before the video. All right, let me bring this in. Let's see if we can get a close-up for y'all. How's that? All right, let's try this. And I'm just sticking my fingernail into the groove and running it back and forth so you can get a little bit of distressing. And you can see from my baby wipe, I just move my finger to all different spots on here. And then when there's no more spots, I just get a new one. So for ease of use, I really like the spraying it with the, so I'm going to go ahead and do that just for time's sake. I'm going to reactivate it just a little bit, and I'm going back to my rag. I could, actually I'll stay with my baby wipe. I reactivated it with the water, and I'm just going to do this with my baby wipe. It does the same thing. Did I get up here? I don't think I sprayed up here. There we go. All right. A little bit more. So this will give you a more natural distressed look than sandpaper, because sandpaper, again, will go, it can go too deep where it takes off the factory finish or whatever the stain they have on it, and you kind of want to leave that. You don't want to go down to that naked wood by sanding too hard. I missed that little area. Let me get that. All right, I'm going back to the rag because I like the rag better. So here we go. Have any of you wet distressed before? What do you think of it? I tell you what, wet distressing, a good tip about this is it's also less mess. You don't have not sawdust, you don't have paint dust flying up and breathing it in. So that's a good thing. All right, so let's push this back. So here we have it. Here's the piece, wet distressed. It's a little crooked. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, so let me show you the difference between the two drawers. Not that there's a huge one, but I just want to show you it anyway. Okay, so this one here is the one I did with reactivating the paint and with a mister and then a cloth. The top one I did with the baby wipe. So pretty similar. Put them back. Okay, so we have a little bit more detail that we want to do here. We have a little bit here and a little bit here. Now, the difference between some of these pieces, like this drawer to this drawer, is this has light wood underneath and this has darker wood. So you can actually see a difference. This one matches the feet. So I might take some dark wax and go back over it. I haven't decided yet. So I'm going to activate this little area, taking my rag, and I'm just going to go into the grooves. How's that? Let's skip up close on this one because it's really pretty. So we'll do this one here. I'm going to activate it with my mister bottle. Probably a little too much. Let that soak for a second, and then I'm just going to get a clean area on my rag and then drag my finger down. So much less effort than sanding. And it's beautiful. Let's see how close we can get this. Ta-da! What do you think? See how beautiful that is, those lines? All right. And so here are a few other areas that I might want to do. So let's just see what this is going to look like. There's some detail here. So I'm reactivating the paint. And I'm going to use my cloth. I'm just going to lightly go up and down. There we go. All right. I really want y'all to see this. So let me do this side. Can you see that pretty good? Okay, that looks like it's a good angle. So I'm going to use my mister, and I'm going to just spray that. Let it sit here just for a second. Take my dry rag, and I'm just going to lightly touch the edges. see that? It looks really good in person. When I take the pictures, I'll make sure that I zoom in so you can really see it. All right, so that is wet distressing. Now, when you're looking at this piece, it has dark wood, light wood, and then I already showed you up there the medallion that I left brown is a dark wood also. So I want to darken up this wood just a little bit. And the best, easiest way to do that is with the No Pain Gel Stain. You can see that I've used this container a few times. But, so what you're going to do, you just open it up. Now this is oil-based. Most of the Dixie Belle products are water-based, but this one happens to be water-based, or oil-based. So it takes a little bit longer to dry, and a little bit more cleanup is required. But I just have a little small brush, and I'm just going to simply paint it on. I could rag it on, but I feel like I have more control with my little brush. The nice thing about the gel stain is when you're applying it and you wipe it back and it just maybe not dark enough, you can put on as many coats as you need to get to that desired darkness. You just have to make sure you give it enough dry time. And I generally let it dry overnight, and then I apply the second coat. But see that already? See the difference? It's already darkening it to match the bun feet and the medallion at the top. Again, this is the gel stain in walnut. Come over to this side. So after I apply the gel stain, I'm going to use my lint-free rag and just kind of wipe it back a little bit. Now you'll notice when I start wiping to give it an even coat, it will become a little bit lighter, but that's okay. Once it dries, tomorrow I'll put on another coat and it'll make it a little bit darker. Gel stain is a great resource if you have a piece of furniture that you don't want to paint and say maybe it has a scratch in it or the wood's a little bit lighter, you can do touch-ups with this and it will match the wood pretty good. And I'm just simply wiping it so it says even because I can see the brush strokes of the gel stain. All right, so let me bring that closer to you so you can see. See, so here we darkened it just by adding a little bit of the gel stain. Okay, so now let me give you a full view of the vanity again so you'll see how the bun feet with this decorative piece here and the medallion up, how they match now. As you see though, the medallion is a little bit darker, so tomorrow I'll be adding one more coat of the gel stain to get it a little bit darker. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. Today we did some wet distressing. I will be putting pictures of the vanity when I'm done on my Facebook page. I will be coating it with some gator hide because this is a vanity, so there might be perfumes and different cosmetic things on top, and so I want whoever becomes the new owner of this piece to be able to wash the top down. And anyway, that's it. Thank you for joining me. You guys have a great day, and if you're somewhere very cold, stay warm. All right. See you next time.